Hello everyone, today I'm going to continue reading the rules book. The rules were written by Fein and Sherrie Schneider in 1996, and this is chapter number 2. What are the rules? How many times have you heard somebody say, she's nice, she's pretty, she's smart, why isn't she married? Were they talking about you, perhaps? Ever wonder why women who are not so pretty or smart attract men almost effortlessly? Frankly, many women we know find it easier to relocate to another state, switch careers, or run a marathon than get the right man to marry them. If this sounds like you, then you need the rules. What are the rules? They're a simple way of acting around men that can help any woman win the heart of the man of her dreams. Sound too good to be true? We were skeptical at first too. Read on. So I need to point out this particular sentence, which says, what are the rules? They are a simple way of acting around men that can help any woman win the heart of the man of her dreams. So the rules are not teaching to win the heart of every man that crosses our path. That's not how they work. They don't work on men who are not interested in us. Also, they don't work really on men that we are not interested in. Even though it's easier sort of to do the rules on men that we're not interested in, however, they still don't work on men that we're not interested in, or vice versa. It has to be mutual. And that's why the rules harp on doing them on the right guy, on the one, basically. Okay, let's continue. By the way, that's actually a rookie mistake. I thought so too. When I first read the rules, I thought, oh my God, this is what I need to make every guy fall madly in love with me, but they don't work like that. Okay, let's continue. The purpose of the rules is to make Mr. Right obsessed with having you as his by making yourself seem unattainable. What a plan. In plain language, we're talking about playing hard to get. Follow the rules and he will not just marry you, but feel crazy about you forever. What we're promising you is happily ever after, a marriage truly made in heaven. Again, they're talking about the Mr. Right. So Mr. Right is the person who is perfect for you, but also somebody that you are, as a rules girl, interested in. It's a mutual thing. Okay, continuing. If you follow the rules, you can rest assured that your husband will treat you like a queen, even when he's angry with you. Why? Because he spent so much time trying to get you. You have become so precious to him that he doesn't take you for granted. On the contrary, he thinks of you constantly. He's your best friend, your rock of Gibraltar during bad times. He's hurt if you don't share your problems with him. He's always there for you when you start your new job, if you need surgery. He even likes to get involved in mundane things such as picking out a new bed spread, sorry. He always wants to do things together. When you do the rules, you don't have to worry about him chasing other women. Even your very attractive neighbor or his bosom is secretary. That's because when you do the rules, he somehow thinks you are the sexiest woman alive. When you do the rules, you don't have to worry about being abandoned, neglected, or ignored. Yeah, well, I think it's easy to understand, actually. It's really not difficult. When you are crushing on somebody, and it's the same for women as well as it's the same for men, you constantly think of that person. You're not looking really to other women, right? If you're a guy, if you're a girl, if you're crushing a guy, you don't find other attractive men attractive in the same time. So when your husband, basically the rules tell, when your husband is attracted to you because you did the rules on him, well, he's initially attracted to you, but he is madly in love with you because you did the rules on him. His feelings for you are not just vanishing. He really worked hard to get you, so he treats you right. Okay, continuing. All right. A woman we know who followed the rules is now married to a wonderful man who doesn't try to get rid of her to go out with the guys. Instead, he becomes slightly jealous when she does her own thing. They are very good friends too. well, it just reconfirms when you do the rules, basically. And the rules are especially important in the first couple months. When you do them on a guy who is initially very attracted to you, he becomes really connected, like emotionally connected. Because when a guy works hard to get a girl who is playing a little bit hard to get, by the way, the rules also teach you not just seem to be unattainable. The rules teach you actually be a little bit unattainable because you are a busy rules girl. They teach you that in the books. Men are different from women. Women who call men, ask them out, conveniently have 2 tickets to a show, or offer sex on the first date, destroy male ambition and animal drive. Who knew? Men are born to respond to challenge. Take away challenge and their interest wanes. Absolutely. And I know many will argue on that and say, well, not every guy is the same way, but they are. And women are also the same amongst themselves. We are just different creatures. Men are different and women are different. And we have commonalities. That, in a nutshell, is the premise of the rules. Sure, a man might marry you if you don't do the rules, but we can't guarantee that yours will be a good marriage. And that sense is also very important, because a lot of times you will hear from other women, by the way, women usually would say, oh, I didn't do the rules on my husband. Like he, I don't know, I paid always like my bill at the restaurant. I asked him for a second date, or like the first date. I even approached him first, or whatever they say. I didn't do the rules. Like I didn't play hard to get at all. But what they usually don't say, they don't really go into details about their marriage. And if you know them very well, you will see that their marriage is not quite a rules marriage, where the authors promise that the rules marriage is actually a good marriage. Okay, this is how it works. If men love challenge, we become challenging. But don't ask a man if he loves challenge. He might think or even say he doesn't. He might not even realize how he reacts. Pay attention to what he does, not what he says. Exactly. That's really important. Like you can't really trust a guy based on what he tells you about him or what he wants to do or whatever. Like you have to observe him and his actions very carefully. You have to look what he actually does. And I had to learn it the hard way. Because that was not like a natural thing for me. I thought like, people are people, like men and women are the same. Like I had like no freaking idea that men and women are different. Like I've done partially naturally the rules, not all of them, but like understanding that with men, it's all about the action. What does he actually do? Ignore what he says. Well, don't ignore what he says, but really his actions, they trump over what he says at all times. So, as you read this book, you might think that the rules are too calculating and wonder, how hard to get do I have to be? Am I never to cook him dinner or take him to a Broadway show? What if I just feel like talking to him? Can't I call? When may I reveal personal things about myself? The answer is read the rules, follow them completely, not a la carte, and you will be happy you did. How many of us know women who never quite trust their husbands and always feel slightly insecure? They may even see their therapist to talk about their husbands, don't pay attention to them. So that their husbands don't pay attention to them. The rules will save you about $125 an hour in therapy bills. Yeah, I know a few marriages where I think, wow, that's not how I want this to be, not at all. And those are nice ladies. Like from a lady's perspective, like I know these girls, and whatever they tell me, like I'll give you an example. Like one of my coworkers, she's married for I don't know how many years. I'm not sure how she met her husband. So I'm not sure if that's like a rules marriage or not. But she told me that her husband completely ignores like Valentine's Day. Oh, like don't tell me like, oh, Valentine's Day is just a commercial thing. No, it's not. Okay, you might consider it as a commercial thing, but if you are in a romantic relationship, and marriage is a romantic relationship as well, it should be, and her husband is like completely ignoring it, like that's concerning. That's really concerning. Also, the same thing, or I know from a male coworker who says that he doesn't get anything for his fiancée on Valentine's Day. I actually asked him like, what does he get for Valentine's Day for his like fiancée, and he's like, nothing. So, but they also live together, so it's not you will learn down the line that living together before marriage is not a thing. Of course, it's easy to do the rules with men you're not that interested in. Naturally, you don't call them, instantly return their calls, or send them love letters. Sometimes your indifference makes them so crazy about you that you end up marrying one of them. That's because you did the rules without even thinking about it, and he proposed. It's true. Some women will say, oh, I didn't do the rules, or I didn't do them, or my husband, whatever. But when you start digging and you start asking questions like who approached whom, like how they met, who asked whom out first, who followed up on a second date, who said I love you first, and all of these things, and she will answer you like that her husband did all of that, and you will realize that this is a rules marriage, and she just didn't know that she did the right thing not to initiate anything during the time of courtship. Basically, that's what they are about. But settling for less is not what this book is about. The idea is to do the rules with the men you're really crazy about. I had to remind myself of this particular sentence a lot of times when I went on dates with guys I was not really into at all, but they were kind of nice, and I went out just to like, he's a nice guy, I might give him a chance, sort of thing. So yeah, I'm all for like giving a chance to a nice guy who is not perfectly your type. I am for it. However, don't force yourself date somebody you're not really attracted to. Like that's not going to work. You will waste a lot of your time. This will require effort, patience, and self-restraint, but isn't all worth it? Why should you compromise and marry someone who loves you but whom you're not crazy about? Exactly. We know many women who face this dilemma, but don't worry, this book will help you marry only Mr. Right. Yeah, again, this book does not work on every guy that just crosses your path. This book works on Mr. Right. So, and the way the rules work on every other guy is that every Mr. Wrong along the way who is going to try to date you or be in your life, he will drop out. Like he will not continue putting up with you being hard to get. You're not impossible. Like again, this book is not about being impossible to get. It's not what it is about. This book is making you a little bit more unattainable because you need to have self-restraint and discipline to date somebody. And that's a very unpopular opinion, of course. To have, like, it seems like you don't have fun when you date, but when you date somebody who's good to you, it's fun. It's not fun dating somebody who's bad to you, who's not doing the right things. So the rules will protect you from men who are not doing the right things, who are Mr. Wrong or buyer beware or anything. Okay. Your job now is to treat the man you're really, really crazy about like the man you're not that interested in. Don't call, be busy sometimes. Again, you see, it's not about like saying no to every second date that he's trying to get you for. It's about just having some boundaries. Do all of this from the beginning, from day one. Do it from the second you meet him, or should we say the second he meets you. The better you do the rules from the beginning, the harder he will fall for you. Keep thinking, how would I behave if I weren't that interested in him? And then behave that way. Would you offer endless encouragement to somebody you didn't really like? Would you stay on the phone with him for hours? Of course not. Don't worry, that busyness and lack of interest will drive him away. The man you don't like keep calling after you've turned them down, don't they? True. And that's why any girl, any woman who read the rules first and feels like, oh no, I'm not like playing games with men that I like, or they think, oh, it's just too hard to turn down a little, turn a little bit down a guy who is very attractive to you. I get it. I get it. However, you have to really remember the times when all the guys who kept calling, and I think every single woman knows 1, 2, 3, 10 men who kept on trying when you weren't interested. You completely ignore them. You were not necessarily rude to them. It's just you're not interested, so you don't call them back, or you cut their call short, or you don't respond to every single message that they send you, if it's not important. And those men kept on trying. Every woman knows these guys, and that's what the book is about. Like you set boundaries with the guys that you actually like, because women, and men too, by the way, but women they must to pace a relationship for it to work. Because guys lose interest. They really lose interest when you put it all out right away. They just do. So this book is just gonna teach you a little bit how to not lose yourself in a relationship with a man that you really like. Remember, the rules are not about getting just any man to adore you or propose. They're about getting the man of your dreams to marry you. It's an old-fashioned formula, but it really works. Again, the rules reference to the man of your dreams, aka Mr. Right. The rules are not for marrying somebody that you don't like. Or, okay, things can happen. I know rules girls who married a guy who she was not initially very attracted to, but now she loves him. So he was so wonderful to her during courtship that she actually ended up falling for him. By the way, that's a difference between men and women. Listen to this. That's a difference between men and women. Women are able to fall in love with a guy because of his character or generosity or other great qualities. Men, on the opposite, they cannot force themselves to like or love a girl that they are not initially physically attracted to. They cannot force themselves. So if you're not his type, for whatever reason, wrong hair color, wrong eye color, wrong body shape, like he likes whatever different type, you can twist yourself into a pretzel, but he might still not like you. It's just the way it is. And for women, I think every woman can somewhat say, like, yeah, I kind of like this guy and this guy and this guy, but they were all different because of different qualities of this guy. So women can do that. And sometimes I'm a big advocate for like giving a guy who's just nice, but maybe not exactly your type, a chance. But you don't have to force yourself to go on like third date with a man that you're like clearly don't want to even touch with your finger. Okay, so we understand why modern career-oriented women have sometimes scoffed at our suggestions. They've been MBA trained to make things happen and to take charge of their careers. However, a relationship with a man is different from a job. In a relationship, the man must take charge. He must propose. We're not making this up. Biologically, he is the aggressor. Again, that goes back to our differences. Men and women are different biologically. We have indeed different qualities and needs. And the book will talk about them as well. And in this sentence, they point out that the man is an aggressor, so he is a pursuer, he's a chaser, naturally. And it does not matter that the woman is more successful or more rich or whatever, has a higher status, and that's why she has to make the move, or she's more beautiful, whatever, she's famous and he's not. It all does not matter. Some women complain that the rules prevent them from being themselves or having fun. I was the one to say this. Like, seriously, I felt like I was just choked by the rules in the beginning. And I still feel like they prevent me from doing fun things. However, I slowly, after I started implementing the rules in my life, I slowly changed my definition of fun. Why should dating be work? Some ask. But then they end up alone on Saturday night because I did not follow the rules. They always come back to us saying, okay, tell me what to do. Doing what you want to do is not always in your best interest. On a job interview, you don't like yourself. You don't eat cake if you're serious about losing weight. Similarly, it's not wise to let it all hang out and break the rules as soon as you begin dating men. In the long run, it's not fun to break the rules. You could easily end up alone. Think long term. Imagine a husband you love, beautiful sex, children, companionship, and growing old with someone who thinks you're a great catch. That's a big promise of the rules, by the way. They promise you this perfect marriage. However, yes, 100%. However, it's not always perfect, everything. We will learn down the line that even a rules marriage has problems. However, a rules marriage is so much more stable, and a couple usually works problems out. Also, they say the rules, so some women complain that the rules prevent them from having fun. Yes, I was one of them who said this. When I started implementing the rules into my life, I felt like I was deprived of the fun that I had before I did the rules completely the way they're written. I was a rules girl. I was just not doing them correctly, or I was not doing all of them. So I was breaking the rules. However, I was not breaking all of them all the time. Anyway, I felt like when I was dating before reading this book, I thought the purpose of dating was just to have fun, going out on dates, kiss boys, say bye, next one, whatever. But eventually, when you do the rules, you implement them in your life, you change your definition of fun. You still have fun, there are just boundaries to certain fun types. Think about never having to be alone on Saturday night or having to ask your married friends to fix you up. Think about being a couple. Unfortunately, however, you must experience some delayed gratification in the first few months of the relationship to achieve this marital bliss. But has wearing your heart on your sleeve ever gotten you anywhere? There are many books and theories on this subject. All make wonderful promises, but the rules actually produce results. It's easy to know what's going on when you do the rules. It's very simple. If he calls you, listen to this. If he calls you, pursues you, asks you out, it's the rules. If you have to make excuses for his behavior, for example, he didn't call after the first date because he's still hung up on his ex-girlfriend, and you have to think about every word he said until your head hurts and you call him, it's not the rules. Forget what he's going through, for example, fear of commitment or not ready for a relationship. Remember, we don't play therapist when we do the rules. If he calls and asks you out, it's the rules. Anything else is conversation. Exactly. How many times, ladies, we've done this mistake, or like when you come back from a date and you actually like the guy and you talk to a girlfriend, but he just ends up not calling you back, or like he calls you back but never really asks you out again on another date. You wonder why, and you think you did something wrong. Mostly not. Mostly it's just you're not the one for him. He might like you, but not enough to continue to pursue you in a proper way. So usually you didn't do anything. If you dress nicely on a date, if you act nicely, then you didn't do anything wrong. It's not that, you didn't smile enough on a date. It's not really about that. So yeah, don't make excuses for a guy if he didn't call you back. It's really not helpful to think, oh, he's probably like have like a fear of commitment. Like, oh, I've heard it so many times. There is no such thing as fear of commitment for men who are attracted to you. Men don't care they commit to girls that they really like no problem. When a guy is crushing on you, he's like in love with you, like you can't get rid of him. Like you don't even have to ask him whether he's committed to you. He is, because he really likes you. That's all you need to know. All right. So the rules are really cutthroat. Did I say it correctly? I don't know. So you will, the following chapters will make it more clear why we have to implement the rules to set strong boundaries with men we date right from the start. It's better to do the rules right from the moment you meet a new guy. What I really like about the rules is that there is no guesswork. There's really no guesswork. You know exactly when the guy likes you, what he does, and he asks you out. He wants to be alone, one-on-one with you in the same room. That's what men do when they really like you. It really takes out the guesswork out of the whole thing. So when you don't hear from him for a long time, you know he doesn't really like you. He can live without you. If he can live without you, if he's not really into you. And there's no need to lie to yourself thinking, oh, it's just not the right time, or he might be too busy or caught up with his work on a project or whatever, building his business, taking care of his pets, whatever. It all doesn't matter. When a guy likes you, he will make it work. Oh, for sure. Like there's no doubt. So every guy who's sort of like liking you but doesn't do the right thing, really cut off completely. Like you're wasting your time. That's what I had to do when I started doing the rules. Because I had like guys on speed dial. Like I had like lists with men who were my entertainment, good entertainment. You know, just like, hey, let's go to the movies. Like some of like a male and female friendship. But I learned that there is I learned down the line that there's no such thing as female and male friendship. Like usually it's like sort of dating, but you don't call it dating. It's like, oh, we're friends. No, you're not friends. You're not. And so what else about this chapter? Oh, so here exactly. They talk about all these other relationship books that you might read or like you find in shelves in bookstores. I read a bunch of them after I read. So the rules book was my very first book that I read on like psychology and relationships. I have never read anything like that before, and I'm glad it happened that way, because every other book that I read after I read the rules was not giving the same understanding and results on female-male relationships. Really not. And some of them were okay, but they were all sort of, they were implementing the rules, just explaining them in a different way, but very confusing. The rules are very simple to understand, actually. You just sometimes need to read between the lines. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think? I remember when I first read the rules in 2000, it was January 2017. I think it was January the 3rd or the 4th. I even remember the date because this is the day when I walked into a bookstore and purchased the book. And I think I read the first few pages and I was like, oh my God, they're talking to me. That's me. They write about me in this book. Because I felt like the lines, just these words were speaking to me directly. It's really strange, but I think every rules girl who is now a rules girl and discovered the rules for the first time, they were like, oh my God, they were in full shock because they recognized themselves in those lines, in those chapters. 100%. And it was the same for me. Okay, so I'm just gonna prepare the next chapter, chapter number 3, and see you in the next video.